Okay.
We still have 2 minutes. Is Waseem Shah back yet? He said he will be joining. Is he in? Let me see.
So this looks good.
No.
Yeah, we are live now.
Waseem Shah is in.
Okay. Jamil bhai, you can start.
Is he here? Yeah, he is here. Okay. Waseem Shah, are you here? I see him in the list. I don't see his mic. Yeah, now he's muted. No, he's not muted. Waseem Saab?
PG?
Assalamualaikum. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, good. Waseem Saab is here. All right.
I have a problem with this video here. I have to press again the launch meeting.
No, you're fine. You're fine. You just keep what you have. Exactly.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay.
We can go live. 11 o'clock.
Just 1 minute, Ramjala bhai or Jamil bhai, I don't have the access to the Google Doc that had the questions, so if any of you can kindly paste those questions in our chat.
Sure. I will be working on it when the speakers are presenting, okay? Because I think that needs a password for you to access.
But that's fine, yeah. That's fine, yeah. I just need to see the questions.
I'm going to put that in our WhatsApp.
Thank you.
Questions copied from there.
Okay,
I may not
thank you.
But I will put the generic questions which are posed, and then I can take it up from there.
Thank you.
Ramakrishna, are we live?
Yes. Yes, sir. Now we are live. You can.
All right. Welcome everybody to the Indian American Forum conference call.
Jamil bhai, can you start your video? Sorry, can you turn on your video? Your video is past.
My video is not turned on?
Yeah, now it is.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, I'm able to see. So he disappeared.
Welcome to the Indian American conference.
Yeah, I think the video is the problem here.
That's fine. Yeah.
We are all good. Okay, I'm muting everybody now. So one can start. Jamil bhai, again your video gone. I think when you closing some app, it's going away. Make sure your video is turned on.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead. Jamil.
Hi, this is Dr. Muhammad Jamil from Indian American.
Still no.
Your video goes away when you start talking.
Okay, let me...
we can't see you.
That's fine. I think now we are
You
live.
were there all along.
That's fine. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I will go ahead and start the conference call here. This is Dr. Muhammad Jamil from Indian Americans Forum. We are conducting a Zoom conference call with our partners, Hindus for Human Rights, represented by Sunita Vishwanathi and Raju Rajgopalji, and Global Indian Progressive Alliance, Dr. Manish Madan, who will be moderating this call on the topic of Trump's new immigration policies and its effect on the immigrants in general and on H-1B visa holders in special. So I will be introducing the speakers. The format of this call will be the speaker number 1 will be speaking for 15 to 20 minutes, and then speaker 2 followed by 15 to 20 minutes. And then Dr. Manish Madan will take over the call, and the question and answers will follow. So I will be introducing both Afia Yunus as well as Dr. Manish Madan, who is our member from Global Indian Progressive Alliance in the Indian American Forum. So I will be introducing Afia Yunus. Afia, I know her for a long time, 10 to 15 years almost. She is an activist in general, but she's an attorney based out of Pennsylvania. She is a principal attorney and founder of the Yunus Law with an office in Philadelphia and Chicago. Practice exclusively on immigration and nationality law. She represents clients all over the country. She has obtained approval for all the labor certifications, investor visas, And academically, she earned her JD degree cum laude from Chicago Kent College of Law in 2010, the certificate in public interest law. Her expertise has an extensive experience with applications and petitions to USCIS and the Department of State. And she believes in providing a full service experience to her clients, and she is admitted to practice law before the Supreme Court of Illinois. For the past years, Billy Penn has been highlighting the city's next great stars in law, from prosecutors to litigators to defenders to social justice advocates. Afia was selected by Billy Penn amongst these 16 young law professionals as one of the next great attorneys in highlights the human rights violation frequently done in any part of the world. So with that brief introduction, I would like to also introduce Dr. Manish Madan, who is going to moderate this call. Manish is a close associate of us, coordinating all the Zoom conferences and highlighting the human rights violation around the world. He is an associate professor of criminal justice at Stockton University. He received his PhD in criminal justice from Michigan State University. He writes on India's social, political, cultural environment from a critical lens and has published research on gender-based violence, including sexual harassment in public places, police-citizen relationship in various international journals. His articles have appeared in popular news web portals, Huffington Post, News Laundry, etc. So he is going to moderate the call. With this, I will hand over to Dr. Rehan Khan for a brief introduction of Mr. Waseem. Mr. Rehan Khan, are you there?
People who are not speaking, can they turn off their mics, please? Because there's a lot of background noise.
Yes, we did.
The moderator can turn off the other mics. All right, a brief introduction of attorney Waseem Shah. He is the lead attorney at Law Group in Montgomery County, Maryland. His law group practice was started in 2012. He has been a member of DC Bar Association since 2012. He specializes in immigration matters related to asylum, labor certification, EB-5 visas, investor visas, H-1B visas that everybody was waiting to hear, among other immigration matters. With that, I will give it to Manish.
Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this yet another webinar, weekend webinar hosted by our friends, Indians American Forum, Indians for Human Rights, and Global Indian Progressive Alliance. Today's discussion is on the impact of coronavirus on immigration and particularly how it impacts the immigrant population here. So I'm going to give a quick, brief introduction, which is, I'm going to shout out to my wife actually, because she runs another immigration practice here. So I'm going to read a note that she wrote for the brief summary, and then I will let the experts take it from there. What she mentioned.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can you just I think you're too closer to camera. Can you just?
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
Yes,
Am I better now?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the brief key points of the presidential executive order relating to immigration that's suspending entry to immigrants following the COVID-19 outbreak. I'm going to talk about two things: who it doesn't apply to and who it applies to. Based on that I'm quite prepared for her clients. One, it doesn't apply to the non-immigrant visas. Number one. Two, those seeking green cards from within the United States, that is applying for adjustment of status, the AOS. It doesn't apply to the spouses and minor children of U.S. citizens. Those who already have their immigrant visas or other travel documents required to travel to the U.S. Those applying for asylum and related to special immigrants. There's a noise in the background, so if somebody wants to mute themselves, please, thank you. Also, it doesn't apply to the healthcare workers coming to the U.S. in relation to the COVID-19 outbreak. It does not apply to the EB5 investors and to the members of U.S. Armed Forces, law enforcement exceptions, and national investors. Who it applies to, based on that information, is those seeking green cards through embassies abroad, which involves consular processing, those seeking employment-based green cards, those seeking family-based green cards subject to these exceptions above, and those seeking diversity-based green cards. And the order has already gone into effect since 23rd of April of 2020 and will remain in effect for the next 60 days. So that's just the brief outline here. But there's also a political component to that. Again, I won't spend much time on that. The political component is about how the Trump's temporary immigration plan is perhaps part of the long-term plan, which we have been hearing for a long time. So this coronavirus kind of gives that cue in to the administration to do some of their immigration-related narrative. So at this point, I would let our experts talk about it and give their information to our audience here. So I guess is it Afia's? Did I get the name right? Afia, yes. So Miss Yunus, if you want to take it from here, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. Ramji, you may want to unmute Afia.
Okay. Thank you so much, Manish. Yeah, I unmuted myself. I first just want to say thank you to the organizations that organized this particular webinar. It is timely. It's extremely important. I try to keep everyone informed. As you stated, the administration's goal is to seed confusion and fear. And really, it's important that we as a community stay informed. That's how we fight back on the efforts to create that confusion and fear. So I'm going to give a brief summary of the impact on immigration agency-based by the global pandemic. So I'm going to go through each agency pretty briefly to explain what the impacts are on that particular agency. And then at the very end, give a summary on the specific travel ban that went into effect on the 23rd. So to start out, we'll start with the two land borders. So the northern land border with Canada and the southern land border with Mexico have been closed by the Trump administration due to the pandemic. Now, this excludes U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents who are returning. So if you or your loved one are a U.S. citizen or green card holder and you travel to Canada or Mexico, you will be able to come back. It is, however, closed to others for all non-essential traffic. That includes anything related to tourism or recreation. So a lot of people have asked about the TN visa holders or anyone who needs to travel across the border from Canada to work. Those will be allowed to travel because it's considered essential travel. The other issue at the border is the processing of the TN visas and even the H visas at the border. Those we're getting mixed reports. I don't know if the other attorney has any other information on this, but right now, some ports of entry are processing the visas, whereas some of them are not. So I highly recommend prior to applying for a TN visa at the border that you contact an immigration attorney and make sure that they are processing that visa. Additionally, at the southern border, Trump administration has eliminated all access to asylum. They're no longer processing or detaining individuals who come through. Instead, they're just returning them back to their country of origin. The second agency, what I think is really important, are the air travel restrictions. So back in March, the president banned the entry of all foreign nationals who had traveled to or been to one of the impacted countries within 14 days of coming to the U.S. So what does that mean? Basically, if you are not a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, you are a foreign national who does not have a green card, and if you've been to any of the impacted countries, and I will list those, within 14 days of trying to come to the U.S., you will not be allowed to come into the U.S. Now, as I stated, this does not affect U.S. citizens or green card holders or immediate family members of green card holders or U.S. citizens. Immediate family members are spouses, parents, and children under the age of 21. What are the impacted countries? They are the countries in the Schengen area. Those are 26 European countries, including the UK, and Iran and China. So if you want to get a full list of the Schengen, you can Google it online. They're very specific countries in Europe. And then the notable ones are the UK and Ireland are included in the Schengen impacted countries. Now, what if you are a US citizen, a green card holder, or the immediate relative of either of those, and you've been to these impacted countries within 14 days of coming to the US? What happens? So the Department of State has delineated about 15, I think it's 16 airports now that you have to fly into. So there are 16 airports you must fly into in the United States.
As a police state in any welfare state.
I'm sorry?
Go ahead. I mean, I'm sorry. Anybody is not allowed to talk middle of the speaker talking. If you have any question, we can take it later. Okay, just go ahead, ma'am. We can start.
Yeah. So there are about 16 airports you must fly into, and you will be subject to a secondary screening. The secondary screening is basically a health screening, and they will check your temperature and do whatever else they feel they need to do to ensure that you haven't contracted the virus. And then you will be released, but subject to a self-imposed 14-day quarantine. Okay? So just to summarize, if you are a U.S. citizen, green card holder, or immediate relative of either of those, and you've been to the impacted countries, you can come to the United States. You will just be subject to an additional screening and a self-imposed quarantine. And I think self-imposed is really important here. DOS is not going to come knocking on your door to make sure that you are in quarantine. There's a lot of rumblings about them making sure that this is happening. We don't have any reports of the Department of State or Immigration knocking on people's doors to make sure that they're in quarantine. This is self-imposed if and only if you've been to the impacted countries. So that's the travel ban that was implemented back in March. So it's very different from the proclamation the president signed a few days ago, which I'll go over at the end. The next agency I'm going to go over is USCIS. So this is the agency that processes applications for immigration benefits. So if you're applying for a green card, you're applying for a change of status or an extension of status, this is the agency that's going to be processing those. We received notice yesterday that USCIS is planning to reopen its field offices on June 4th. So they are preparing to reopen. They have been closed since, I believe, March 16th or about the third week of March. The field offices have been closed, but they are still processing application benefits. Interviews, as most of you may know, if you did have an interview scheduled from back in March until June 4th when they hopefully open, those are being rescheduled. What does that look like? You will get a notice, a I-797, that will say your interview is canceled and being rescheduled. That notice will not have your new date. But no need to panic. Hopefully, they're saying they're going to issue new notices with your new interview date. And when I say interviews, I mean all appointments with USCIS. So that's your oath ceremonies, your naturalization interviews, your green card interviews, your I-751 petition to remove your condition interviews. If you had an employment-based green card, all of those interviews will be rescheduled. And rest assured, if you got the cancellation notice, you will automatically be rescheduled by USCIS. You do not need to contact them. What I am doing with my clients is once USCIS reopens on June 4th, I'm going to give them 30 days, And if I don't get a new notice within 30 days, I will contact them. So that's just best practice. We all know immigration is inconsistent and unreliable, to say the least. So my advice would be give them 30 days from June 4th. If you don't get your new notice, go ahead and contact them. Use the National Customer Service Center hotline and find out information about your specific case. This also applies to biometrics appointments as well. So if you had a fingerprint appointment, you will get that rescheduled. Really important information, if your I-94 is about to expire, so if your stay is going to expire, to go ahead and file, if you can, an extension of stay. USCIS is still receiving applications, and they are processing them, although they're understaffed. But you want to make sure you get in your application to extend your stay or change your status prior to the expiration of your I-94. Really key is if you file that extension prior to the expiration, you get the additional 240 days on your work permit while the application is pending. If you are stuck in the United States and you need to leave, okay, that's really important. Let's say you're stuck in the United States, your I-94 is about to expire, and you don't want to file an extension of stay or a change of status application. You can contact your local USCIS field office and get them to extend your stay. You can request satisfactory departure if you're on the visa waiver program. If that still doesn't work, contact an immigration attorney right away. USCIS is offering a little bit of leniency on this, but we want to make sure everything is done prior to the expiration of your stay. Also, if you have an RFE, so that's a request for evidence, or any notice from USCIS that you have to respond to with a particular deadline, they are extending those deadlines for 60 calendar days. So if you have an H-1B RFE, if you have a notice of intent to revoke on an I-130 petition, I have a ton of those. So spouse went to her interview in the embassy abroad, embassy sent the petition back, you get a notice of intent to revoke. All of those have a deadline to respond. USCIS issued a notice that will extend those deadlines for 60 calendar days. Final point on USCIS is the public charge determination. So that was something President Trump expanded back in January of this year. If you're not familiar with it, I have another video specifically on the public charge. You can check that out or ask an immigration lawyer. But specifically for determining whether you will be a public charge, USCIS has stated that any treatment or preventative care or testing related to COVID-19, even if it's federal money, will not be considered against you in the public charge determination. So go ahead and take that money. And then key, though, is the Department of State hasn't issued guidance on this. And we unfortunately are used to USCIS and the Department of State having different regulations. So this is one of those areas where we don't have guidance yet from the Department of State. And finally, unemployment benefits. A lot of people are having to apply for those. Those are also not considered in the public charge determination. They're not considered public benefits because they're considered earned benefits that you've actually worked for. So that's USCIS. How much time do I have left? I have about 5 minutes. 5. Oh, God. Okay. So visa processing.
Afia, don't worry about time. If you want to take 5 more minutes, that's fine. You can just. No.
Okay, I'll try to hurry up.
Yeah.
So visa processing, that's when you apply for a visa abroad. So USCIS is the one who's making the decisions in the U.S., and the Department of State is the one who makes them outside the U.S. As of right now, most embassies are closed. AILA, the American Immigration Lawyers Association, has like a living document with all the embassies and what they're doing. So if you have a specific question, you can reach out to me about a specific embassy. They have canceled all routine immigrant and non-immigrant visa appointments as of March 20th. Most embassies still have U.S. citizen services and visa waiver services available. So if you're a U.S. citizen stuck in another country and you can't get a ticket back to the U.S., you can contact the embassy. They'll help you out. But they're going to cancel all the immigrant visa and non-immigrant visa appointments. If you've already paid your immigrant visa fee and you're worried about that, it's a great worry. They said that they will honor your payment for 1 year, and then after that, you got to pay it again. They are allowing emergency appointments, but we all know immigration defines emergency as, even worse than you're about to die. So I would tread lightly with that one. And again, we have embassy-specific information if you need it. The National Visa Center, that's the processing, the clearinghouse, basically, that takes all the documents and sends them to the embassy. They are also at reduced staffing. They stated that the NVC public inquiry form, so that's the online forum that you submit all of your questions to the NVC. My birth certificate's blurry, my name change document is unavailable, my country doesn't issue police certificates, all of that stuff that you usually submit to the NVC public inquiry form, they're no longer going to be reading those during the pandemic. They said that they will only be addressing emergency questions. And again, remember, with the immigration emergency is very strict. Also, because of the reduced staffing, expect to be on the phone waiting for NVC to answer for several hours. That's the same thing with USCIS. A question I kept getting was about the immigrant visa. So if your immigrant visa was issued and you're stuck abroad, you can contact the consulate or the embassy to reprint you a new one if it's about to expire and you haven't come to the US yet. This would be considered an emergency. So just make sure you document contacting the embassy. So this is when mom received her immigrant visa 4 months ago, but she just decided she's going to wait to come to the US. That was a bad decision, but now her immigrant visa is going to expire in 2 months and she can't get a ticket to the US. So she can contact the embassy and ask them to reprint a new visa foil to be valid until the travel restrictions are lifted. I won't go into stimulus money because that's complicated. Just finally, before I jump into the travel ban, immigration court hearings, if you have one, non-detained hearings are being rescheduled. And most courts are open to, are closed to non-detained hearing. If it's detained, then the hearing is usually going forward. Also, ICE is accepting requests to release detained individuals who are not a flight risk and who have a public interest concern. Most of them do because the detention centers are a hotbed for the coronavirus. Finally, just 3 minutes on the travel ban. Manish gave a great summary. So unfortunately, we're talking about bans again. So 3 days ago, the president sprung upon us in our quarantine a new immigration ban. This only impacts people who are applying for an immigrant visa abroad. So just to reemphasize, if you're already in the United States, this does not apply to you. This only applies to people who are outside the United States as of April 23rd. Also does not apply to anyone who already has an immigrant visa issued. Remember, mom from my previous example, she's good. The ban doesn't apply to her because she already had her visa issued. So the ban prevents the entry, or the visa issuance, really. He calls it entry, but it's visa issuance, of any foreign national, excluding spouses or children of U.S. citizen. Notably, he did not include parents, so parents of U.S. citizens are going to be banned. He also excluded anyone who's already a lawful permanent resident, Anyone who knows anything about immigration knows that would already apply because they already have an immigrant visa. And again, if anyone already has an immigrant visa, or if this is a really important exception, visas for physicians, nurses, or any healthcare professional are excluded. If you or your loved one is going to apply for the immigrant visa and they feel that they will be involved in any type of research or healthcare work, it's really important to apply based on that exception. The exception is pretty broad, so I would push against that and start applying with the consulate based on the fact that you're going to be a healthcare worker. Other questions I got were spouses of lawful permanent residents. Unfortunately, they're also subject to the ban. And I think that's it. For now, it's just 60 days from April 23rd. But being an immigration attorney during Trump, we know that anything is possible. So he did leave room open to extend that. So we have to prepare that it may get extended. But as of right now, it's just the 60 days. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Afia. Well presented. And Manish, are you there? So, Manish, can you unmute yourself? Manish, unmute yourself. Manish, can you hear me? Please unmute yourself. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
From the bottom left-hand corner,
Manish has some audio issues. So I'm going to ask Mr. Waseem to go ahead and give his presentation. Mr. Waseem, you can unmute yourself.
All right.
Manish,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, I think we had a technical glitch here.
Oh, okay.
But thank you, Afi, for such a wonderful presentation. You covered a lot of great points, very comprehensive, very articulate. So thank you so much. We will move at this point to Waseem Shah, and he will give us another 15-20 minutes. And again, if you need extra time, that's fine. So we'll let you start, and then we will have questions. That's when we'll ask the questions to both of you, and hopefully we can, answer some of those for our participants. So thank you for joining in, and please take over at this point.
Okay. Thank you very much for all having me on this forum. Ms. Afia, thank you very much for you to explaining very detailed information on this immigration. They asked me to talk about the H-1B visa as a non-immigrant employment-based visa. Mostly foreign workers, they come here to perform the services in this country in the specialty occupations. The thing is that as Ms. Afia explained A to Z in her presentation, most of the non-immigrant would not be able to come to this country for next 60 days unless they make any determination whether they have to bring that immigrant from that countries to come here to perform the jobs. So I think that this visa 60 days restriction or 60 days the suspension of their entry here into the United States would impact a big the immigrants and the employers in the United States. So let me explain first what the H-1B visa and what the other non-immigrant visas which they are suspended and they are restricted by the president orders in April 23rd order that all non-immigrant visas they will not be able to fly to the United States if they are outside the United States, if they do not have the travel document to come here. So the H-1B visa is especially impacted because this April 1st, they took the applications, they entertained those applications for the Manish, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, okay. So this specialty occupation professionals, they did not receive, most of them, they did not receive their approval letters yet. But the applications was turned in on April 1st to there and thereafter. So the thing is that now the president, in his orders, he said that when we open the economy gradually, we will see first we hire the people they are furloughed employees of the companies. Secondly, we will just take those people they are fired for some reason, and then we will see the demand of the foreign workers in this country, the how many visas should be issued. So in this way, then President orders, no person knows that after their applications, how many people would be able to come this year, this fiscal year. The total visa for this H-1B visa is a 65,000 and 6,008 visas are for Chile and Singapore. And the rest 58,200 visas, they are for the rest of the world. So the 20,000 addition to that, 20,000 visas are for the masters and higher degrees. Okay, all these 85,000 visas, plus many of the student visas, they're supposed to come here this fall to start their school. They may not be able to come here to this country this year, or they may be late for coming this year. After 60 days, if they extended the date for the for this ban, most of the people would not be able to travel within the time period here to this country. So I think that this visa H-1B visa holder and their beneficiaries, including their spouses, children, they will not be able to come here to the United States. They cannot travel according to this presidential order. And if they continue this practice here in this country for H-1B visa and for student visas and for L1, L2 visas, most probably most of the businesses will dry up. By next year, you don't know how many of the businesses they need the same kind of labor in this country to come here. Secondly, I think that immigration is a trend. Most people they move to those countries where they have the opportunities to work, where they go there and find work and better employment. So if we will close the doors for them for 1 year, 6 months, 2 months, 3 years, most probably the people will divert to other countries to go and seek jobs there. So the U.S. companies here, they are in trouble. How they run the business, because this H-1B visa is for those people they have specialty occupations they come here, but how they will do that without them? They will run their businesses in the United States. So Manish, my question are those that H-1B visa holder and F-1 visas, how they will come to this country if they cannot travel next 60 days, or the visas cannot be processed for next 60 days. And the president said that after 60 days, they will, with the Department of Homeland Security, with consultation of Department of State and Department of Labor, they will decide whether they should continue this ban or they should modify the ban. So we are not sure what would the future of this ban here on this country, on this visas system H1B. They changed this year registration system. They charge $10 to register the employers this year. Now the question is whether their priority, their names, their registration would be valid for next year. I don't think so that would be valid because this fee was non-refundable, and next year maybe they have to register themselves to do that. Beside that, the people, they have already H1B visa approved in their countries, F1 visa, B2 visa, L1 2 visas, E2 visas. They would not be able to travel to this country. Only EB5 visa holders, they will be able to travel here over there in these exceptions. So that I think that there is a H1B visa requirement very tough. Many employers, they have to go through a long process to process the applications, and if they do not get the employees, skilled employees in this country, it's very hard to keep up the business without those employees in this country. So they should look at this one. And I mean, this H1B visa is the visa that requires the bachelor degree, and cannot be, this job or special jobs cannot be performed with the low or less educational and skills if professionals have. So in this country, we don't have many people that they can perform this job. This is a short period of this job. As Afia said, that nurses, essential job holders, they can come to this country from overseas. The people, they are locked outside, they can come, a green card holder and citizen. Non-immigrant, they are stuck everywhere in the world. They cannot be able to come here. President said that he is making this because to prevent the coronavirus, and some politicians are saying that he is making excuses because election year is coming, and some they are saying that he's against the immigrant. That's the reason that he's doing. But that's not the thing. The thing is that this country has 22 million people unemployed right now. This country has so many coronavirus patients, so many deaths, more than anywhere in the world. So they have to restrict some policies to reorganize this whole country when they reopen it. Businesses, they may file bankruptcies. Businesses, they may go different directions. Is in this country, in capitalist country, I think is 2 months is a too long period for businesses to shut their businesses and sit home. So this would be a very hard time. This coming 1-2 years would be very hard for this nation. We have to realize it. And H1B visa and all other visas, they should allow some people to come here to work. I mean, to accommodate some of the employers, but they will determine this after 60 days. 60 days is the time period, and they will do it. And this cap, I think, if they're not going to be used, this cap, this is a fiscal year for H1B visa this year. How they will do that next year? They will add this pool to the next one, or they will not. We don't know about that. So, as Ms. Afia said, that the National Visa Center is working with the reduced staff. Immigration is working with the reduced staff. So the progress on the visas is not as quick as it's supposed to be. They are opening on 4th, but they're not going to open in full accord. Most probably they will open in slowly, gradually, they allow some people, how many people can enter into the facility there, and how many people can be relieved in those areas. So this we have to see the upcoming the days that how the government will react on those things. Many people they are waiting. Many people they are worried about their immigration status in this country. Many visitors they are locked in into this country because they cannot go back to their country. Is a flight restrictions. Immigration is reduced by the restrictions on the airport and the border. It goes to border for the south borders. And as Afia said, then Canada and the south borders is closed. So I mean, immigration is reduced in this country anyway. So we don't have anyone to come in this one as on a non-immigrant visa. Secondly, they said the violators would be deported immediately, and they will not be allowed to come here by fraud, misrepresentation, or bribe, or by any other ways to enter into this country. So H-1B visa holders would be badly impacted this year, I think. These companies, if they won't get those approvals, it's a long process. You get the visa from overseas in U.S. consulates, then you have to make the arrangement for travel to come here to join the employers. Secondly, the people they are here, if they are changing their visas, like transferring visas, they are changing visa from H-1B visa to another company, they would not be affected. They are not under any cap, or they can do that. Secondly, the people they are working for the non-profit organization associated with the higher education or higher institutes, or the people they are working with for the government institutes, they have no cap. So this is exemptions in this visa. They can apply the visa here if they are in the United States, and their visas can be processed in the United States. So overseas people are impacted with this coronavirus, and especially with the orders of the United States. President has used this power vested in him by the Constitution and by the U.S. laws that he can restrict, or he can suspend visas for the non-immigrants. So I mean, this is the thing that immigration will change in this country. Maybe in the next 2-3 months we can assess that how these things will settle by the USCIS, Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, how the National Visa Center is reacting, and how they are forwarding those applications, how the other institutes that they are working as. Ms. Afia, very detailed, very good presentation that she has explained everything, how these institutes, one by one, they are working right now. So we have to see if we can see that people from all over the world, they would be able to come on the non-immigrant visa to these countries or not. So this is my presentation for today. If there's any questions, I'd be glad to help them and answer them. Okay.
Well, thank you very much again.
Is my time over? Do I have time?
Jamil bhai, are you going ahead?
Yeah, Manish, go ahead and take over. Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Waseem.
You're welcome.
Right. No, thank you again. If you had some closing thoughts, I think we do have a few minutes before we get into the questions. So, Mr. Waseem Shah?
Yes.
Please feel free to add if you had a few closing comments.
Sure. My closing comment is people should not worry at their homes. They should see that all over the countries, all over the world is locked down right now. In their own countries, they have coronaviruses, and their governments are struggling to fight with this pandemic. And they most probably, when they will open the governments, they will see that how the U.S. government is taking those things, and then we will start something to say non-immigrants to come here to this country. But right now, most of the countries, I think their services for international travel is banned. As Ms. Sophia said, that there are some countries, 13, 14 countries they have that nobody wants to travel from one country to another country to travel to here. People they don't have means. It's a very hardship for the people. People there. I got calls from many other countries. I have a visa. My visa is going to expire. My green card is going to expire. U.S. consulate is not answering. This is true because they cannot take so many calls a day. U.S. consulates are closed. They are not working. But the thing is, we have to wait until they open the thing, and then we can go there and we can see what relief they can get from there. Here, we are getting so many intent to deny notices. Only reason is that immigration is working partially. If you call to the immigration hotline, 10 people tell you the 10 different stories. The officers, they are on different pages. They don't have any updated information. So the most of the people, they have to wait until they open in pull a card. They just take the immigration questions and answers, and people, or we can go there as attorneys. We can go there, represent them into the immigration offices. Courts are closed. ICE is partial open. That I had just bail bond the other day. Had a difficulty to contact with them to go there and pay them the money for the bail bond. So these are the things that we have to see when the things will normalize in this country. We are not right now on the spot where we're supposed to be.
Okay. Well, thank you. I mean, it's clear that these are not normal times. In fact, I was looking at the research on the Department of Labor's latest statistics, just for everyone to know. About 26 million people have actually filed for unemployment. I know last week it was 22 million, so you were right there. And also, based on some of the estimates that are coming in, we are looking at the loss of about 47 million jobs, which would be hitting the unemployment rate to 32%. So this is obviously a tough time for everybody. But I want to move to the questions, if you guys are okay with at this point. I have some questions that we received from members prior to this call. And if there are other questions, I do see some hands raised, so I will also call upon them. Let me ask you a couple of questions here. One says that I'm a conditional permanent resident. My wife had claimed check. Will that affect my citizenship prospect?
You cut out. Do you mind saying the question again?
Sure. The question says, I am a conditional permanent resident. My wife had claimed my stimulus check. Will that affect my citizenship prospect?
So the public charge determination is only done at the green card application process. So it is not a requirement when you naturalize. It is only a determination when you are going to apply for your green card. So any federal money this person received or their wife received, the naturalization does not look at public charge. They only look at good moral character, physical presence, continuous residence, and the fact how long you've been a green card holder.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you. Anything you want to add, Mr. Shah?
Yeah, but the president has declared the national emergency in this country. All those people, they're getting these checks. They have to report them on your next tax return as an income, and they will. I think they will change the guideline and see how the people they will earn for the fiscal year for a whole year, and how they are reporting their income onto the income tax returns. If there is above that income tax return out there, then it's fine. If they are not making any money, so the public charge question has already been challenged in the courts, and the courts has determined differently. So I would say that this should not affect their even green card applications.
Yeah, then thank you for answering that, both Afia and Mr. Shah there, Ms. Yunus. The next question is from our dear member Rajuji from the Hindus for Human Rights. His question says, there is a general feeling among Indians that Modi and Trump friendship will somehow give a fair deal to India, and obviously Indians, and I see the smirk already. Is this optimism overstated? Is Stephen Miller not more powerful than Modi? Question mark.
Gracias, Afia.
The question is to both Ms. Yunus and Mr. Shah.
In processing immigrant and non-immigrant visas, there's no friendship of countries, no friendship, no individuals involved in there. We process evenly, whether they are from India, from Europe, from Africa, from anywhere. We have to process, they're all individuals to us. So we process without any nationality, looking at their nationalities. We have to process the applications just...
Right. No, I think the question is not about the lawyers processing it. The question is about whether Indians will get a fair deal, from the Trump administration because of his relationship with Modi. I think that's probably the intent of the question.
I mean, what I would say is, so last year, as we know, Indians are at a severe disadvantage for immigrant visas. They have to wait much longer. So last year there was a bill that would have switched that process up and potentially allowed Indians to kind of cut the line, but it didn't have enough political clout to move up. So what I would say is most immigration as visa issuance and all of that, it will require Congress. So you see the president has the capabilities in issuing immigrant visas, in entry, in banning entry. But when it comes to the visa numbers, he won't be able to change that without legislation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Excellent. Thank you for answering that as well. The next question is from dear Jamil Bhai from the Indian American Forum. What is the impact on doctors with J1 visa status, if anything, we know about it?
Okay. Can I go, Ms. Afia?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is a non-immigrant visa. It's the same thing that J1 visa holders, if they have the J1 visa, they would not be able to travel to this country this next 60 days. After that, they will determine what they will do with that. So J visa holders, if they are in this country, they can extend their visas. They can do perform their jobs under J visa. But the new entrants, the new people, they come in from out overseas, they would not be able to, because his language is just immigrants, they can come here. Non-immigrants would not come here. J1 visa is a non-immigrant visa.
Excellent. Ms. Yunus, did you want to add anything? Thank you.
I just want to clarify that the ban for the 60 days is for immigrant visas. So J1 visa holders would not be impacted by this ban. The only way a J1 visa holder would be impacted is if they had gone to any of the impacted countries prior to trying to come to the U.S. Mm-hmm. So the ban would not apply to J1 visa holders.
Right. So as a follow-up to that, and there's another question, I'm trying to make a connection here, which is there are students who are on H-1B visa who had traveled to India before this travel ban and this corona scare that came in. So now they are stuck in India, right? But they are also on H-1B visas. So what is the impact on those individuals? I mean, barring the fact that they're not able to travel just because travel is banned, per se the flights are not going on. But from an immigration perspective, will they have any impact on that, or will they be allowed to come back into the country and resume their business, their studies, as they were part of their F1 or H1B visas?
As for I know, that H1B visa holders, if they are overseas, they have a valid visa. H4 visa, their spouses, children,
correct,
they would not be able to return to this country.
They will not be?
Would not be able to return to this country.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Ms. Afia?
I want to clarify again. So the ban for the 60 days does not apply to non-immigrant visa holders. It only applies to people who are applying for an immigrant visa, so a green card. So if someone has an H-1B visa in India, that means, number one, the 60-day ban does not apply to them. Number two, India is not an impacted country. So if they can get a flight back to the United States, they will be able to come back to the United States.
Excellent. Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying.
Manish, just a quick follow-up to Afia as well as Waseem Bhai. I guess the question, H-1B visa holders who are stuck in India due to overall Trump's immigration policy. Now that the economy and the businesses have closed, now, apart from the 60, I understand what Afia is trying to say, the new 60 days ban, whether in general, H-1B visa holders and the student visa holders stuck in other places are going to have an impact with overall Trump's immigration policy?
As I just said, that the H-1B visa policy is that President said that when they will open the government gradually, then they will see the first U.S. employer are going to hire the furloughed people. Then the people they were fired from their jobs, and then they will see the demand and the supply. That then they will decide how many people they need to come there to the country to serve in the occupations, in the professional occupations. So we do not know that after 60 days we can tell that how many people they need if they open the government gradually, and then how many people they are asking to come to this country. So F1 visa, as I just mentioned you, they have the visas approvals and everything there, and they have to start the schools, and they have school, which I read here, as Ms. Afia is saying, for the immigrants only. They said the non-immigrant, if they are outside of the country, they would not be able to come here.
All right. I think thank you for clarifying both of you. At this point, I do see a couple of hands raised. I do want to acknowledge them participating in the forum and be able to give them the floor to ask a question. So, Ramji or Jamil, I don't know if any of you can do that. I'd like to call upon Ali, SK, or to ask a question. Please.
Alina, go ahead. I unmuted you, so please ask a question. Debrief and ask a question, please. Alina, I unmuted you.
Can you hear me, Jamil bhai?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So this is regarding the recent CNBC draft, where it says that President Donald Trump would require technology workers in the United States on H-1B visas to provide updated certifications that they are not displacing American workers. So I would request regarding this, if Waseem bhai or Ms. Afia can put in some points, what certifications they are talking about. That's my first question. And the second question is, I have an coming up new H-1B renewal. Wanted to check if there is any implications to the point number one. Thank you.
Ms. Afia, do you want to go?
No, go ahead. It's you can go.
H-1B. Okay, I will tell you that if you are, let me ask you whether are you in United States or you are outside of the United States?
United States.
If you are in United States, you are eligible to file the renewal of the visa, and your visa would be renewed here, will not impact. There is no cap applied on this visa. But if you have family overseas and they have H-4 visa, they would be not able to come here. That's my registered the research here. That's what I find from the order. So this is the H-1B visa. People, they are in the United States. They would be able to renew your visas. You can change from one employer to a second employer, and you would be able to just change the employer here, or you can do that. It's not a problem at all. Okay. And your second question was that. What was that?
So the question was, there is a draft recently come up where they are asking us when H-1B visas to provide updated certifications that they are not displacing American workers. So I just want a clarification on that.
They have changed some of the procedures for that. Now they have registration system. Now they are asking to get the certification. They are verifying the degrees and stuff. They're checking background. So I mean, they are changing all this procedure. So you have to get the certification to attach with your application.
When they say the certification, does it mean the education evaluation and the experience?
That's a different thing. That's the thing that you qualify. You're eligible to apply for the visa.
Thank you.
I want to say one thing. These type of programs are extremely important, specifically because of your question. There are going to be many drafts and the administration will purposely release drafts of potential proclamations to make everyone afraid. And what I would say is, stop reading the drafts and wait until an actual order is issued or an actual proclamation is signed. And then once it's signed, people like Waseem or myself can digest it and give you the information. The drafts are very intentionally released to determine, what the pulse is on the public, how people are going to react. And we've seen over and over again, this is a pattern of the current administration to release drafts of policy that never really go into effect.
Excellent.
Thank you, both of you. Next, I'd like to call upon SK, who had also raised his or her hand. Jamil bhai, can we unmute SK, please?
Yes, I did it.
Okay. SK, please go ahead.
Can you guys hear my voice? Hello?
Yes, we can hear.
Can I ask you? So I was just anyway. Right? I think more than 52,000 people have lost their lives, and also millions of workers are in employment. Do you think in the times of crisis like this, the fear of fascism and smear of racism isn't going to be increased, right? Because the next 6 months, right, we'll see a consistent attacks on immigrants, right? As Afia has said, right, this deliberately is he trying to spread the fear of this fear of fascism? Do you think a uptick on this trend?
So before Ms. Afia and Mr. Shah answer this question, I want to make sure that we stay true to the actual objective of this particular webinar, which was focused on the test. But again, if they are both comfortable answering that question, I would not hinge onto their place to talk at this point. But I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page. Thank you for understanding.
Ms. Afia, are you there?
I'm here. I guess the only thing I'll say is anti-immigrant sentiment is at a high right now. And the way we push back on the narrative that immigrants are taking jobs and immigrants are criminals is, number one, to tell your story, which is always important, and number two, to be informed and stay informed. So whenever you're in conversations and people are talking about, fears and things they saw online, my clients, I don't let them read things online, because online is where all the fear and all the questions and all the misinformation is. And so my opinion is that the more we stay informed, the more we stay grounded in real information from valid sources, we can push back on the narrative of fear. Knowledge is power right now.
Thank you, Ms. Yunus, for answering that very astutely. Mr. Shah, will you say something?
On the same line, I have a quick question, okay, on the same lines. Are you able to hear me? This is clear?
Okay, we want to make sure that only one person talks at a time. So
yeah, this is Roy Mantina, just an extension of that question, okay? So is Trump is violating United Nations any agreements by, overtly protecting U.S. jobs?
Can you repeat your question, Mr. Roy?
I know Trump has the right to protect, American jobs and American people, but by going overtly declaring this, ban, is he violating any
International law,
the world body of United Nations? And does the immigrants have a right to appeal to the United Nations? It's the reason I'm asking is it's purely a political gimmick, okay? By banning 2 months, he's only delaying to 60,000 green card visas. But in this juncture, the immigrants, the people who are impacted, has any right to appeal to the United Nations?
Well, this country is right now in a national emergency situation. So I don't think so that they are doing anything or violating anything, or President Trump particularly is violating any of the international laws to do it. But the thing is that president does not control the visas. The National Visa Center, they have to allocate the visas, and they go by fiscal year to fiscal year. So most of the under the separation of powers, presidents has no powers on the immigration directly to go there and interfere with the immigration. But what they can do that, they have some powers, little powers, just to suspend some immigration, stop immigrants to come here to the country. Their eligibility, they can just to get the green card or legal status here. They can cancel the citizenship. But this work is done by the independent institute, that's the Department of Homeland Security. The president mostly doesn't interfere with those things. So your question is whether he has violated any international law or UNO laws. I don't think so that he has violated any international law in regard to this visa issuance, regard to any races or whatever he talks. But the thing is not for any particular nation or particular race or particular thing here. He just talks sometime to talk, So I don't think so there is any violation on his part in this regard. The country is in deep trouble here. We have more deaths than anybody in the world, and we have more unemployment than anybody in the world. So I mean, we have to take care of the United States workers first before we can open the doors for our guests to come here to work. So I would say that, Mr. Roy, this is not, and people, they do not individually have to sue the nations into the international forum. They can be sued for many human rights. They can do many things there, but there's no new human violation has been seen here in the United States so far. That they are just doing any inhuman treatment with based on the racism or something like that.
Afia, you want to add something here?
I don't have anything to add.
So Ahmed,
are you able to hear me? This is SK.
Yes, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So my question is regarding, since we have stopped the input or incoming of 60 days for any green card related. Ms. Afia mentioned about that. So is that numbers of green cards going to use for Indians or any, like the backlog community? Is there an impact on those areas where people are waiting for green card, and will that benefit this backlog?
I don't see it benefiting the backlog, because it's funny, I got this question a lot. So people see it as, so create the visual in your mind that there is a door and there's people who are waiting in line, right? So, and the door used to open and people used to walk through and the door would close. And this is the line of people waiting for immigrant visas. So I think what people are thinking is people got pulled out from the beginning of the line. That actually is not what's happening. What's happening is the door is closed. So the door is not opening at all. So everyone who's in line is now going to be waiting longer. So this ban on issuing immigrant visas is going to push the visa bulletin back. It's going to basically make it retrogress, in my opinion, because for 60 days, no one's getting a visa. So every month, the visa bulletin usually moves like an ant, but it moves. But now it's not going to move at all. And I would say, in my opinion, that it's going to delay things very significantly.
Okay, thank you. But will those unused numbers of visas not going to spill back? Because those numbers of visas will not be used, right? So will that not benefit the backlog community, because now the GC numbers are not getting used?
No, there's no benefit. it's going to delay everything even more.
Can I add something?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Waseem.
The thing is that our fiscal year for the visa starts from October to October every year. Every year, National Visa Center allocate the visas, that how many visas will be utilized in a different U.S. consulates for issuance of the visa. And after the year, whatever we have left over the visas, they again reallocate, but doesn't mean that has to go back to India or back to other countries, the same number of visas which were they left over. So they have to assess that how many total visas were left there and how they can allocate again to the whole world, So this is true that maybe if they're not going to utilize all visa this year, they may utilize next year, but doesn't mean that all visa is going to any one of the countries,
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Questions?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, thanks so much.
Ahmed, you can go ahead.
Okay. No, first of all, thank you so much for the moderators. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, and thank you to Ms. Afia and Mr. Waseem. This is a great platform, and this is much required at this point of time, right? Where there is a confusion. Thank you so much again. My question is simple, but I kind of confused when talked about immigrant visas, right? So let's suppose if there is a family stuck who has a green card holders, but they are stuck outside of United States. Right now, they are not in the United States, right? So can they come back, without any issues, or are they gonna be impacted as well?
You're talking about the immigrant visas?
No, I mean the families who already has a green card holders, right? I mean, they already has a green cards, but they're just returning back to United States. They are right. Yeah, they are right now, when the temporary executive order implemented on 23rd, right? So the family was not in the United States. So they are outside of United States, and then when they try to return back, so are there going to be any implications? They are already having a green card, right?
Yes. Ms. Afia?
Green card holders are specifically excluded from the ban. So if someone already has a green card, they are excluded from the ban. They're exempt. They can come back to the U.S. no problem.
Oh, okay. Thanks so much.
Excellent. Well, that was a good. I think we are almost heading down towards the end of the call. We've had great commentaries, great questions. I think at this point, I want to just say to both of you, are there any resources that you would like members to be aware of where they can get official information or updates? I know you mentioned about having so much a plethora of information, which may be inaccurate on social media, obviously. Are there any resources that you want to guide us to where people can keep a watch on the announcements on immigration related news?
I would highly recommend, one of my offices is in Philadelphia, but the Penn State Law it's called the Immigrant Center for Immigrants' Rights Clinic. So the Center for Immigrants' Rights Clinic by Penn State Law, they're an excellent resource. After every single order, law, any change in immigration, they publish a one-sheeter, and it's put in like a Q&A format, very easy to digest. They have one up for the ban that was implemented 3 days ago. They have one for the travel restrictions. It's very user-friendly, and it's very quick. It comes up literally the next day. So I highly recommend that. If you want to, I can put it in the chat box.
Please, I think the chat box is probably locked, so you may want to, send it.
Yeah, I can share it. If you can just WhatsApp me, I will share it in our group. The next is Ahmed has raised the hand. So Ahmed, there's different Ahmed. Probably you want to go next, unless Waseem bhai wants to add something. Waseem bhai, please go ahead first, and then Ahmed will take the question.
Yeah, sure. They can contact us with the same clinics there, or they have any questions. If they have website or they have my Facebook or something, they can ask questions there. We can reach them.
Okay. I just want to add that Waseem Saab and the other attorney, both of these attorneys can represent clients from any part of the United States. Thank you.
So Ahmad, go ahead. Ahmad, you can unmute yourself. If Ahmad is not ready, Azam, you can unmute also. Ahmad, can you hear me? I guess there's some issue with that, but I have a Facebook question for both actually, because it's going on the Facebook Live. There is one question: what is the situation of the H-1B applications if they lose their jobs during this time? I guess that's one of the questions from Kiran Dasri.
Yes, Ms. Kiran, the thing is that law is that when you lose your job, you have, I think, 60 days to move on, find another employer and file a separate petition, or you have to leave the country. If you file the new petition, you have to leave the country, and then you have to file for the new H-1B visa. But if you have that employer that in the United States, you can apply again for this visa.
Afia, you want to add something?
No, I think that was concise.
Okay, and I think Roy, you have any?
Yeah, a quick question actually. First a comment, okay? So the quick last question was, Trump has not violated human rights. So human rights violation does not only cover physical harm, it also covers dislocation and mental harm and stress. Many immigrants' families, like for example, I'm a citizen, okay? Do you think I'm, peaceful, resting? I'm concerned about the students. I'm concerned about those who lost the jobs and visa issues. So that's my comment, okay? Stress, pain also.
So,
concern
right.
Yeah. The question is,
correcting you. I mean, this topic is for the immigration attorney.
Yeah.
So
the question, I come straight to the question.
I think for the another time,
Yeah.
rights attorneys, then we can raise that question.
Yeah, sure. Coming to the question.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah. Coming to the question, okay? Coming to the question. So now we have this mess, but still there are our crazy friends and relatives from India. They want to come to India, Pakistan, and they want to come to America through the whatever, immigration or studies or student visas. What message you have for them? What message? Because we already have mess here. Wait couple of months. Many people will be in the line for, jobs. So what message you have for the job seekers and higher studies aspirants from India? What message you have for them? The reason I'm asking the question, it is live right now.
Thank you. So I guess the question is for the students who are aspiring to come for high, and for the job seekers, because most of the IT people from India would definitely want to come back to US. So what is the one message in regards to their employment as well as the students' aspirations?
My message to them is that coming to the United States to explore their education or to job opportunities, they should continue doing that. They should try that one, but keep in mind that coming here is not that easy for the people that they are coming from these countries: India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal. Unless they have means here, because they have changed so many laws here that students, they cannot work outside of the universities or outside the campuses. H-1B visa holders, now their spouses can work. Before that, the spouses were not allowed to work there, and many other things that they have to face some hardship here. But keep continuing to apply for those visas. We have the demand here, and if you are qualified and eligible for those visas, there's nothing wrong to apply for these opportunities. Okay, so I wish you well when you could, so I hope that you will be.
Well said. Afia, you want to add something?
I mean, it's a good question. What I would say is I take my job very seriously, and my job is to ask you what your dreams are and try to make those dreams come true. That's how I see my role. And if your dream is to come to the United States and get an education or to work here, then my job is to tell you what the risks are, what the challenges are, and with that in mind, help you make an informed decision. It's not going to be easy. Nothing worth fighting for is ever easy, but I'm not going to discourage anyone to reap of the benefits that I have the privilege of enjoying. And nothing should grant me that privilege and not you just because I was born here. I think we all should have equal opportunity to seek our fullest potential, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to help you realize that potential.
Thank you so much. That was well said, Afia.
It's very, very, very inspiring. It's very inspiring. Thank you.
Who are trying to come and get their aspirations and their dreams come true, and we are all working for that cause. And I know Roy Manthana is one of the activists who advise people all over India and help them out to bring people here. So I will open up the floor. I have three hands raised. So I think Ahmed, I'm not sure why his audio is not working. Abdul, if you are here, please unmute yourself. And we are wrapping up in another 5 minutes. So please restrict your question to one per person. So go ahead, Abdul. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Mr. Shah and Ms. Yunus. I would like to know what is the impact of this COVID-19 to the beneficiary who are selected in the 2020 lottery.
2020 what?
Lottery.
Lottery is the visa lottery or is the...
Yeah, the visa lottery for the H1B.
Oh, H1B visa lottery. Okay.
Yeah.
So H1B visa lottery, that if you have already been selected, so they will issue you the approval letter. But the thing is that the way how you will travel from here to the United States. To my understanding, that is going to be very hard to travel from overseas to here if you are outside of the United States to come here and join your employer in the United States. I think the Ms. Afia has a different opinion on it. So I want to hear from her that what would she say about those non-immigrants, whether they can come to this country if their visa has been approved and they have the approval notice, how they can contact the U.S. consulate to get the visa from there and to get here.
I'm sorry for the interruption. It just picked up in the lottery. It's not yet processed. We need to submit the documents to the USCIS offices in the US.
Yes, if you have received only the receipt notice from them,
yes.
They are saying that 60 days they are processing your applications. But if they said this within 6 months, they will not process these applications, they refund the money to the employers.
Okay.
So Afia, you want to add?
Abdul, are you in the United States?
No, I'm currently in India.
Okay. So my take on the ban is that it only applies to immigrant visa applicants, and the travel restriction would not apply to you because that only applies to people who've been to impacted countries. And India currently is not considered one of them. Your issue will be getting a visa appointment, because right now the embassies are closed and they're not scheduling non-immigrant visa appointments. So that's where your issue will be. We have to wait and see when the embassies will start scheduling the H-1B visa interviews. And unfortunately, if it goes past the time where you have to start working, it's a problem. So I would say, if I were you, stay on top of the embassy as your interview, when they're opening, whether they're scheduling the H-1B interview, and hopefully you can get an interview before you have to be in the U.S.
And we would be able to tell you after 60 days, maybe 50 days, when they have a meeting after 50 days, whether they will continue the ban or they will lift the ban. So then we can see how the government and U.S. consulates they will open for these to process these visas.
I'm sorry. And they are also informing the receipt that the beneficiary needs to send the documents before 30th June.
I think if I can quickly interject here, we can take those one-on-one questions. Maybe you both can leave your website where people can contact you for individual and participation.
Waseem's on our group and on the Facebook live link. So I think those personal one-on-one questions, I think we can take up with the attorneys. You guys can take up individually. So I will go to Azam. I think you raised the hand. Quickly ask your question, please. We are approaching our time, and we will try to wrap up in another 5 to 10 minutes.
Hello everyone, this is Mohammad Azam from New York City, and I have a Nepali neighbor, Mr. Sherpa, listening this conversation. Again, I mean, it's a one-to-one question, but if you can answer him, that will be very thankful. He's asking that he is an immigrant, he has a green card, and he has been filing taxes and everything for so many years. Now he was about to file immigration for his family, but due to this mess, he lost the job and he wanted to apply for the green card, the food stamps and benefit. He is worried that is that going to affect his eligibility to file immigration for his family? Thank you.
Ms. Afia, this you answered the question before.
I did. So the public charge determination comes into play when you yourself are applying for a green card. So if he's petitioning his family abroad, it will not come into play until they go to apply for the immigrant visa. And he has to submit an I-864 sponsorship form. So that's the only time the sponsor's income comes into play. That's the only time immigration is going to look at it. So, I mean, and I'm assuming these are relatives who have to wait quite some time for the visa. So, just take that into consideration that his income will not be questioned until he submits his I-864 way down the line.
So by saying that, I mean, he can apply for it and he can get benefits. And when he's ready to apply, at that time he can surrender it and then he will be back to track, right?
So I'm not going to answer specific legal questions related to his specific case.
Right.
But also, just a disclaimer for the whole call, if you are a lawful permanent resident, you want to be careful about applying for public benefits. You're usually not eligible for public benefits as a green card holder until you've been a green card holder for at least 5 years. So you want to make sure, just a really quick disclaimer, that you're not claiming U.S. citizenship on these applications. A lot of the hospitals and these Medicaid offices, they'll tell you to just check things off, and a lot of those benefits you're not eligible for unless you're a U.S. citizen. And if you're just checking off, then that's a huge, violation if you're a green card holder and you check off that you're a U.S. citizen. Most federal public benefits you are not eligible for until you've been a green card holder for at least 5 years or you're a U.S. citizen. So just make sure that you check that.
Right. I'm just going to quickly interject here before Jamil Bhai takes over to conclude the call.
Yes. Thank you, Manish. Just 1 second.
Yes.
I just want to give opportunity to anybody on the floor. For 2 minutes, we are going to open the floor up. So if you have any questions, guys, be brief. And in next 5 minutes, we are wrapping up the call. So if you have any questions, please unmute yourself. And in 2 minutes, I will give 2 of the participants from the floor any chance before Manish gives a final overview, and then I will conclude. 2 participants.
Yeah, Jamil bhai, I think I got one question from online. This is Ram.
Yeah, Ramakrishna. Go ahead.
Yeah. They were asking, so what happens in this current situation? USCIS is not responding for their mails, like physical mails, if they applied for extension. So, what if they did not receive even a receipt? Is there any situation like that happens?
So what happens if the USCIS doesn't respond to the receipt of the applications, either for extension or any other purpose? That's the question.
Yeah, because of the pandemic, they may be not working.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Anybody? Afia?
Miss Afia, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Waseem.
Go ahead. This is the same answer that you know.
I would advise to always apply for your extension or change of status significantly before the I-94 expires, and this is exactly why. What I would advise also is always file with FedEx or UPS so you get tracking. At the very least, if you file your extension of status or change of status and you get FedEx tracking proof that they received your application prior to the expiration of your stay, then that should hopefully be enough for you not to accrue unlawful presence. Unlawful presence are days in the United States where you're out of status, and that goes into determining whether you're going to be subject to a ban from the U.S. But my advice is file well in advance of your expiration, always use FedEx or UPS tracking, and maintain proof of delivery. Because unfortunately right now, USCIS is not going to be issuing the receipts within the 1 or 2 weeks that we're used to.
So proof of delivery is working now. That means if you add a proof of delivery, they are responding for that one, right?
Again, so I'm not going to guarantee to you that they will accept that. As an attorney, I always do that. And if later down the road they send you a letter saying you've accrued unlawful presence, that's when you have the proof to argue against whatever they're saying.
Okay.
Thank you, Ramakrishna, for that question. I will give Manish to give a quick, conclusion remarks as the professor of criminal justice and talking on the immigration. Probably this are two different topics for you, but Manish, right. Please go ahead.
Well, I will not hinge on the territory of our immigrant experts here. So I will just say that there are many studies that link, because you talked about the criminal justice here, there are many studies that de-link anything to do with immigration or immigrants and crime. That's one of the things that have often come up in the immigration debate, that the immigrants are committing crime, and that those are like studies after studies. In fact, this past week only we were having a class discussion on that. So that's something we to find the other to polarize communities. But at this point, I do want to thank both Ms. Yunus and Mr. Shah for giving us such an elaborate viewpoint and answering questions, even if they were repeated questions, very elaborately. May I ask both of you to spell out your website where people, if they want to reach out to you after this call, would you feel, if you feel comfortable to share your website where people can reach out, you do have the floor to do that as well. We want to make sure that people stay connected and network, so please feel free if you do want to share it.
Sure. So mine is unislaw.com. That's Y-U-N as in Nancy, S as in Sam, LAW.com. I also encourage everyone to follow me on Facebook. I do Facebook Lives pretty frequently. I also have a video on the COVID-19 impact. I have a video on the ban that was signed 3 days ago. My Facebook handle is Unislaw PC, YUNUSLAW PC. And I encourage all of you to reach out. I'd be happy to field your questions.
Thank you so much again, Mr. Shah.
Well, I do not know about my Facebook ID, but Mr. Khan has that, so I cannot just spell out the thing here.
Right. Is there a website? Do you have a website that you'd like to share?
Yes, they have the website, yeah. They have the information online. I do not remember anything that myself here.
Okay. Jamil Bhai, would you want to share this website information for our participants?
Everything is
share in my, Indian American Forums group. Ms. Afia and Waseem Shah's website and Facebook links so that people can reach out.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And thank you so much again. I'll turn it over to me to give this closing.
Manish, before you turn it, Actually, on behalf of all the participants and the live users, Jamil bhai, Jamil.
Unmute yourself. I am going to, because of the lack of time, I apologize. I wanted to conclude the call. I wanted to thank Ms. Afia, Yunus, and Waseem Shah for an excellent presentation on the topic given to them today, the Indian American Forum, in coordination with Hindus for Human Rights and the Global Indian Progressive Alliance. I would like to thank my colleagues Manish Madan, Sunita Vishwanath ji, Raju Rajgopal ji, and our IT expert Ramakrishna Jalla for coordinating this call onto the Facebook. I would like to thank all of you who attended the call and made this topic alive and got the information from both of the senior attorneys. Particularly, the senior attorneys have given us time. I know Afia for about 10 to 15 years personally. She's so busy, but she immediately consented when I said, look, we have our Indian American Forum with a diverse population you would probably see, and we want your time. This time I insisted, so I actually thank her on Indian American Forum's behalf, and also thank Waseem bhai to have consented to be part of this event. So thank you all, and I will share Ms. Afia, Yunus, and Waseem Shah's information on our group. If you have any questions to them, please feel free to reach out to them, and they will help you out as well. Thank you.
Jamil, thank you to you, man. And you thanked everybody, but we thank you. And in this call, actually, what I observed, I used to think lawyers are very commercial, very busy people, but I saw their kindness, their compassion, and thank you to both.
Thank you, Roy. I appreciate it. So, Ramakrishna, are we done with the Facebook? I just want to get a nod from you before we go off.
So, yeah, thank you very much all. So, we are officially ending meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks.